Thank you guys for attending. My name is Calvin LeDuc, and my co-host is Jay Castro. Myself, I'm a 3D animation teacher for the school, and Jay teaches
2D animation, 2D computer animation.
briefly bios. We each get 5 minutes. So I'm Canadian. I studied traditional hand-drawn animation at Sheridan for 4 years. I started my career up in Ottawa working on a TV series called The Raccoons. I did a few episodes. I did some Christmas specials. I quit, moved to Montreal, did commercials for a year, went to California, did Alvin and his Chipmunks, the first traditional feature. Finished that, went to London to do Who Framed Roger Rabbit for a year. That was for Disney and Spielberg. Went to Germany, done a feature in Munich. Spielberg invited me back to work on American Tail in London again. Finished, and I went to California to work for Dale Bear on commercials for a few years. Got my green card. Then I worked for Dream Quest on a Sony science film. Then I worked for Rich on the Swan Princess. Then I went back to Disney for 10 years, working on lots of traditional features. Hercules, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Emperor's New Groove, Treasure Planet, Fantasia 2000. They stopped doing traditional animation, so they retrained me in computer animation. I worked for Sony on animatics for their video games. I then worked for Omation on a feature film. Then I came back to Canada. I was the head of a school for 4 years. I was a contract instructor for another 4 years. I started working for the Vancouver Animation School. And I was helping them develop new courses, recording lessons. Currently, I've been with the school for 8 years, so I've been a professional animator for a little over 20 years. I've been an animation instructor for 14 years, and I'm also the head of faculty right now. So, take over, Jay.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, that's a hard one to follow up on. I think we're really lucky to hear from your experiences with all those huge properties that have really made 2D animation such a big presence. Yeah, I'm a little bit newer to the industry. Not quite, having done as much as Calvin, but I was born and raised here in Vancouver. My parents are both Filipino, and yeah, I went to Emily Carr University, studied animation there, came out of it going straight into the industry. The first project I worked on was a digital feature film for a popular game at that time. You might have heard of Dead Rising, a zombie game where you shoot a bunch of people in a mall. So that was the first project I worked on. I made a commercial for them. And since then, I've been working in the industry, working on television shows, animating on shows for a wide variety of clients. So there's Disney, Teletoon, Marvel, ABC, a whole bunch of big properties. Right now I'm working on one for PBS. I guess the latest stint I was doing was supervising for one of Marvel's properties. I was a supervising animator for their first preschool series, because Marvel has only made like adult content so far. So that's what I was doing about 2 years ago. And since then, I've started working independently, creating my own projects, working on commercial projects, educational videos, a wide variety of things, and recently started my own company with two really talented people called Give Animation. That's our studio where we are trying to create a new way for approaching animation, which is to create everything emotionally driven, to create everything with the heart, and to make sure that's taken into consideration with everything that we make, so that we're taking care of the audience in a more meaningful way, as opposed to just showing you stuff. We're a little bit more conscious about that, and so we're kind of tracing our dreams there, and we'll do a variety of things from explainer videos to even potentially a TV series, kind of just running the show. And UI UX animation as well. So I've seen a wide variety of different applications for animation with where things are going right now, and seeing how they translate. So it'd be really good to see, I think, in this conversation today, the 3D side along with the 2D side, given all of our experience. Yeah.
Okay, guys. So now we want to talk about the actual industry. And this discussion is supposed to be about 2D versus 3D. So I grabbed this. It says this year, 2019, is supposed to be a major milestone in Vancouver's animation and visual effects industry. Just the studios, how much they are generating in doing these projects and paying out to their employees. They're cracking the 1 billion mark for the first time this year. And this shows that they've tripled the value of the animation industry since 2012, which used to be 324 million, according to the Vancouver Economic Commission. Things you have to think about that are going on here, right? A handful of years ago, Sony moved up here, and they did the Academy Award-winning Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Also being done up here is the Rick and Morty series, the Hotel Transylvania feature films, Bob's Burgers, and they did the Angry Birds. Okay, so I also wanted to show a list for you guys to see how is the industry this year. Top 10 grossing films of this year. Check out how many have computer animation in it. The Avengers, the last feature, 0.8 billion. That's for that Endgame one. The remake of The Lion King, which was all computer-generated animation, 1.6 billion. The last Toy Story, Toy Story 4, made over $1 billion. Captain Marvel made over $1 billion, because they do a lot of replacement animation of the characters when they're fighting, when they're flying, stuff like that. Far From Home from Spider-Man, over $1 billion. The live-action Aladdin, $1 billion. And if we get down to the bottom, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, which I saw was good, $520 million. And I had a list here of the top money-making movies of all time. If you want to see how much money, how many of these films have computer animation in them. Placing at all time is The Avengers Endgame, followed by Avatar. Titanic is still up there from 1997. The Ship, they only made half a ship, so the other side is computer generated. All the people that are falling off the ship, that's all computer animation. 2.19 billion. New Star Wars films, The Force Awakens, 2.07 billion. Second last Avengers movie is number 5. Other areas where you're going to see computer animation is going to be in popular video games. Not only characters for feature films, but creatures. Right? They're riding on some four-legged dinosaur. They didn't go out and hire a dinosaur. It's computer generated. Animals, it's so much easier to work with a computer generated animal. It will do exactly what you want. Commercials, computer animation in there, and TV series. Whether it's series on television, series online, or something being streamed today. Jay, take it.
Yeah, so I guess you want me to go over what's happening in the industry, I guess, with 2D?
Please.
Well, there's a lot happening right now. There's a lot of style changes happening, a lot of really exciting shows, a lot of it kind of gravitating towards Disney. But before I get into that, I think I'm just going to speak to one of the bigger foundations of where 2D is heading, because as you've spoken of, Calvin, you've worked on a lot of 2D features, really big projects, but those were all traditional. And so traditional animation is, I think, one branch of what I think 2D animation is capable of doing, but there isn't as much right now. There's a few things, but my biggest example I think I'd want to bring to the forefront is Avatar: The Last Airbender. It was one of those series that really made an impact to show a really amazing story while doing traditional animation, showing that traditional animation is still alive. And so that's, I think, the first thing I want all of you to know with Avatar: Last Airbender, things like that. We are still, in some kind of realm of having traditional animation. So knowing that is going to be really good for you, especially in kind of gauging where the industry's at. So there's things like that. Now, where the rest of the production is going is to puppet animation. And I'm going to show you two examples of puppet animation in terms of a scale of what to expect what the industry is doing.
So let me stop sharing and you can start sharing your screen. Okay, Jay?
Sure, sounds good. Let me pull up an example. Has anyone here heard of Hildefolk or Hilda? It's a Netflix series that came out. So I'm going to show you, yes, I'm going to show you an example of that. So the studio I worked at, we made Hilda. Let's just get this screen share going. Okay, here's the trailer. Let's just have a little watch through. So what I'm showing you is more of a contemporary example of what's happening in 2D animation today. This is all using puppets. What is happening here is we're taking a rig like, say, a marionette or a stop motion puppet, and it's digital. We have a lot of things that we could do with them, but as you notice, each of the characters, they look like very similar from scene to scene because we're using the exact same rig. And that's where production's going right now, and we can make stuff as beautiful as this. So when it comes to animation, the first thing I want to dispel with people is that animation, technique-wise, is still very alive. We've gone through this era of puppet animation. We're still there, but we're slowly making our way into really knowing how to make a puppet look beautiful, really knowing how to make a puppet feel like the classical 2D animations that we all grew up loving and remembering and being inspired by. We can still be inspired by stuff like this. I'll just let you all finish up this thing. So I highly recommend watching it. I know the team on the show had a really great time doing it. And it was a really great creative challenge, and this is kind of, for them, something that they're all proud of, really proud of making. So you're going to be wanting to see stuff like that. I'm going to show you a second example. Who here has? Wait, that was Atomic. Yeah, that was Atomic. Let's see what else. Yeah, today. Yep, super cool. The next I'm going to show you is Agritsuko. Has anyone heard of Agritsuko before? Yeah. Okay. These are two series I'd recommend to everybody to watch. Right? It's hilarious. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so let's take a look at the trailer. I'll talk a little bit about it while we're watching it. It's also on Netflix, so you have no excuses. But you'll notice the style of it is not exactly the same as Hildefolk. Hildefolk, they're trying to go more traditional with their puppets, but with Agritsuko, they're using puppet animation, and it's blatant. But it's blatant for a reason. All these puppets are in this work atmosphere, and they're commenting on work atmospheres. And so it's not about perfection, but it's still doable. It's appropriate. And that's where I'm at with where the 2D animation industry is at, is making work that's very appropriate. And when it is the most appropriate, that's when it works the best. And these two examples I'm showing you are, for their own reasons, very appropriate. On top of, getting to watch this hilarious stuff. I mean, I could rewatch this show just, after I've had a long day and kind of get inspired by her fury, or I don't know, her deepest, whatever, So check it out, both of these. This was made using Flash, and the other was using Toon Boom Harmony. Sorry, not Flash, but Adobe Animate. And that's kind of the two pillars of 2D commercial animation right now. And these are two examples for that. So in terms of what's happening in the industry right now, there's a whole bunch of stuff, a bunch of new series. There's some features that are done with puppets, some features that are done traditionally. So that's what I'm going to want to make sure all of you know. Puppet animations, done Toon Boom, using pegs, deformers, etc. Yep. it's all using pegs, deformers, etc. with Hilda, whereas with Agatsuko, it's all done using symbols, and that's how Animate functions. Yeah, all of these pieces, like say here on Agatsuko, her head would be a piece, her arm would be a piece, the phone would be a piece, and you move those pieces frame to frame. Instead of drawing it frame to frame, you position them frame to frame.
Yeah, guys, we're going to have a question and answer period at the end of our presentation, and then we'll get to your questions that you can put in the chat box.
Yeah, so you can go ahead.
Okay, guys. So I did also create this list of animation studios that exist here just in this city, right? I mean, there's other cities around the world that have a huge animation industry, but we're here in Vancouver at the moment. So you can see all the ones that tend to do traditional, I mean just animation for games and TV shows and feature films, commercials. They're listed on the right here. Right? Bardell, I think, is up to 7 different studios. An interesting thing I was reading is that DHX Media has changed their name to WildBrain. Sony's, these features are being done. Smaller places, Slap Happy Cartoons is owned by a friend that does TV shows. Mouse does TV shows, comic cartoons. And then over on the left, you're seeing the effects houses. But in regards to animation that's done for television, when we were researching for our 2D animation course, the industry was telling us they use the 2 different software, which Jade mentioned, it's called Adobe Animate. It used to, for years, be called Flash Animation. So it's the same software, it's just a new name. But they use about 50% of their production. They use Adobe Animate, and the other 50% is Toon Boom. And I don't know the exact percentage. Jay might have a better idea of how much computer animation is done as well, like 3D computer animation. You know, series like Hot Wheels, I know, were done in computer animation. Any idea, Jay?
Well, with I can only speak to 2D, just how much is being done in Animate versus Harmony. I think right now it's about 60-40, 60% Harmony, 40% Animate. I think maybe 4 years ago it was opposite. But I think it just depends. It depends. The industry might be trying to push Harmony to be taking over. Logistically, budget-wise, it makes a lot more sense to make things in Animate. So
Yeah, it's less expensive, software, right, and easier to use, a little
yeah,
faster from what
yeah.
I've
If
had.
your show, if the purpose of your show is served in Animate, it's probably a better budget decision. So I think it's gonna be up to them. We'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so let's jump on to our school site again, guys. We have our 3D computer animation program, and recently in the last couple of years, a 2D computer animation program that the industry approached us and said, we can't get enough animators, so please, will you teach it? And they helped us develop the program, find instructors, and that's what we're doing now. We have 2 different types of courses. We have the intro course, which is 1 month. You're learning the basics. You're finding out what you like to do. And then we have the full program. And the full program is a year in duration. It's designed to make you industry ready. We're using Maya, which is a free software. It's the industry standard for 3D animation. You can go in here yourself and scroll through it and see what we're up to. There's 4 terms. Each term is 3 months long. So in the first term, you're learning principles, basics of animation. Second one, you're learning locomotion, things like walks, runs. Third term, you're starting to learn acting. So it's pantomime, acting without dialogue. And in the fourth term, you're learning how to do acting with 2 characters and with dialogue. Let me show you some examples of our students' work. So I believe this was just a student doing it for the intro, and she learned how to do a basic walk. Part of the locomotion is also doing a quadruped, which is a 4-legged animal. So you either do a dog or a cat, which to me is very important to know how to do quadrupeds. An example of dialogue here. And here's one of my students that did some great pantomime, interacting with props. I should have a few more examples here. And then I'll pass it back to Jay. Our students come from all over the world. Same with your teacher. We're an online school, so you just need the internet. You need your own computer. Software tends to be this woman is currently working in the industry. Great example of her dog walk. This was, again, just from the intro course, a student learning how to do a run cycle. Here's a student from BC doing a nice walk, and another piece of dialogue. And actually, it's a term 4 where they're doing interaction between two characters. And it's your choice, what type of characters. This time it's a man and his dinosaur, and currently I'm just finishing with a student that did a skeleton and a dragon interacting. So it was pretty fun and exciting to work with that as well. All right, take it, Jay.
Cool. I'll start up that screen share. Ready?
Yeah, let me stop sharing.
Okay. That share. Okay, cool. So the first example I'm going to show you is from a current student. Actually, they're just finishing up right now. They're in term 4, and I've taught them a lot of the way to get to this point. In the term 4, they are also focusing on a more personal project. First 3 terms, we kind of give them, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. Term 4, we say, what's an idea you have, and let's handle that. Let's take care. Let's tackle that together, and let's work out how to realize it. So this is this student's work, their idea in this chase scene. So it's a little bit of a work in progress, but you can kind of see kind of where you can expect to be at this stage. So this student's really inspired by video games. They love Sonic, so everything we talked about was about Sonic. But also they wanted to be a 2D animator, so then we integrated that into his project. Find ways to make it Sonic-like, game-like, and also be animating, doing stuff that he loves. So this is an example of that, a little chase sequence. The second example I'm going to show you is of a student's work. Oops. I'm going to take off the sound there. Student's work who has graduated. This is a compilation of their shots in a reel. So this is an earlier reel, but it has a few shots that we worked on as they made it through 4th term. So let's take a look. So this is part of his story idea too. So he got to start to write his own story and start animating to it.
And it looks like Steven.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He made a GIF of himself. Yeah. So those are the two examples I wanted to show, where someone would be at as they're heading out, and also where someone's at once they're done.
Now let's enter the question and answer. And some students did send us some questions previously before we even did this webinar. So all week long, we've been getting questions written in, and let's see if we can answer some of these. First question, what's the difference between a demo reel and a portfolio? All right. A demo reel, traditionally this is going to be where it's your animation. It's where you're showing movies, things that are moving. And traditionally, portfolio is still images. So it could be photographs, it could be drawings. And people tend not to have a traditional portfolio anymore in terms of they do not carry with them their drawings. They don't mail images of their drawings to people anymore. It's all digital. So you could combine your portfolio onto your demo reel, showing either a slideshow or people could click through the various images that you include. There was also a question of what makes a good portfolio. And I had previously, in another webinar, written down some things about what you should have in a demo reel, but you're welcome to add to that, Jay. Life drawing, different durations. Not that you're going to be professionally drawing realistic humans. Having that ability, that training and hand-eye coordination, your ability to do great observation and draw realistic humans shows how good an artist you are. And if you can draw realistic humans, you can draw anything. So gesture drawing, and that's quick drawings. Can you just capture a pose, a mood in 30 seconds, in 1 minute, in 2 minutes? Portraits. Can you draw faces? Can you draw different expressions? Finally, animals in different poses, different actions, movement, stationary. Knowing how to draw animals is very important for animation if you want to animate animals. Or creatures, because all the creatures are based on animals that you know. Jay?
Yeah, and so I think in terms of what you're saying, I'm just going to add to that. When we get to something in a video format for animation, your demo reel specifically, this is what I tell people they'll need to focus on. There's 3 specific areas that you need to be showing that you're capable of. The first one being body mechanics. If you can convince whoever's trying to hire you, you can make someone seem like they're lifting something heavy, then you're good. That's the first one. Second one, dialogue. Can you have 2 characters talking to each other? Can you make their mouth shapes match what their audio is? Can we hear a voice and then see something on screen that matches the emotional quality of that voice? So that's number 2. Third one being subtle acting. So any tender moment, any more nuanced moment, nuanced expression, letting the character come to life in a really tight but meaningful way. It could just be a change of a facial expression that makes the most sense, the perfect sense. So the hardest one out of those 3 is body mechanics. That's going to be what you spend most of your time doing. And then dialogue, subtle acting, those are more of an analysis approach. That's your thinking is going to have to be shown there. So that's kind of what is going to be necessary for a good portfolio for at least 2D animation. And in terms of puppet versus traditional, you can have some traditional, and that would be really great, but you need to have at least some puppet work. So these days, your drawing skills, yes, have those drawing skills, but also show you can figure out a puppet in the software that you're going to be working in and make that shown in your body mechanics, subtle acting, and dialogue.
Right. I'm sure we can both give our input on this question, Jay. It says, they're saying, how do you motivate yourself and push yourself to do work? But then they mean doing it by yourself, right? If you are just at home or if it is your self project or whatever, how do you keep yourself motivated?
Okay. Well, this answer, it's a little tricky because I won't work the same way anyone else works. You won't work the same way anyone works. Not everyone works exactly the same way. It kind of comes down to your routine. So you can try other people's routines. So I'm going to tell you my routine. This is what motivates me. And for doing things by myself, I have a big dream for what I want 2D animation to be in the future. I don't watch as much media as I should, but the media that I do watch is very specific, and it's about what I want the future to look like. Everything I do is about what I want the future to look like. I'm not looking out for myself as much as I'm looking for everybody else. So that means I got to be surrounding myself with people that'll motivate me. If I'm surrounded by people that are really okay with how things are at the moment, I probably won't seek inspiration from them. I'll seek inspiration from people who want something different in the future. You know, like even the climate strike thing that's happening all around the world. If they want different, you know, I want to know what they're thinking, and I'm inspired by the fact that they want something for the future, and I want to tap into that mindset. Surround my people. Whatever I think of climate change, I just want to know what gets them motivated. So you asking that, surround yourself with who you think motivates you. It's a people thing. And if you're on your own, working on your own, then it becomes a different thing. Then you're kind of challenging yourself. So when I'm on my own, on my computer, I can get really inspired and write a whole bunch of things. And I'll ebb and flow between needing to be surrounded by a lot of people I'm surrounded by, and also giving myself a lot of time to see through a creative urge. Like it'll be like a Sunday afternoon, and I'm about to go hang out with my family, but I have this like creative idea that comes to mind. I'll give myself time a day. I'll start writing notes. I'll allow myself, okay, hey guys, I'm going to be a little bit late. I just need to like write some things down, because inspiration comes like completely randomly. But when it comes, ride the wave. Trust yourself, ride the wave. If that's your priority, then you prioritize that. And so that's for me for motivating myself. How about you, Calvin?
I tend not to like doing freelance from home. I find it very hard to stay motivated. There's so many distractions. Something's on television I want to watch, surfing the web now, books. I love reading books. You know, you might see some of my books over there.
Nice.
Okay, so if I really want to be productive, which I learned how to work fast, and you first you want to learn how to get good, and then you get fast. But I prefer working in a studio environment. When I'm surrounded by other people, I find all that creativity and talent makes me want to push myself to be more talented. And you learn from everybody that's there. Ask questions, right? Look. I'm a visual learner, so be quiet, watch, see what they're doing, and get better yourself. I do record a lot at home as well, but it's usually for something like, okay, it's a topic that I like. And again, I try to get onto projects where that's something I want to work on. I tended to chase the features that I wanted to be working on, and then I chased the character on the feature that I wanted to work on. And if I was doing what I wanted to be doing, I worked so much harder. It's just part of human nature, guys. Always try to work on things that you love, and you're going to just work harder at it.
The way I see it is that if something seems out of the way, like, oh, I got to do this, but like I'd be inspired by that, but it's out of the way, I just find a way to put it in my way. So if, say, climate change is really important to me, I'm going to seek out climate change projects. If I want to be like doing other things with climate change, maybe I don't have time because I got to be working. Well, I'm going to make my projects what I want to be doing, and I put it in front of me.
Yeah, and for myself, the part of the hurdle as well was, where is the project? Okay, the project's not here. It's a lot easier to work in your home country. You don't need any work permits. But when it is in London, when it is in Germany, when it is in the States, that then makes you work harder, because you have to be the best to go and work in another country to prove that you're not, just an average artist. And then you have to jump through those hurdles of, how do I get the visa? What does it involve? What type of lawyer do I need? What type of paperwork? All that stuff. Here's the next question. Is it possible to go from 3D animation to 2D animation? Want to take a stab at that one, Jay?
It happens. You can't do it without having experience in the other, though. Like, if you want to go from 3D to 2D, it means you've already kind of been messing around with 2D, at least a little bit. Once you show you know how to portray proper weight and body mechanics in 3D, they'll just expect you to translate into 2D, but that's kind of your goal, if you can show weight. The real change is getting to know the software and knowing how to convert it into a new style. Because even style-wise, the timing that you do in 3D animation, it's different from the timing that you do in 2D animation. Even our examples of Agretsuko and what's it called, Hilda, the timing is really different. So it's style. Understand the style. 2D is just a different style, but if you can show you've done it, even just like a little bit, kind of like puppets, just show that you can do it. But most of your portfolio is 3D. The higher likelihood of that transfer happening is if it's within your own company or the company you work for, and you tell them you want to try something else. If they need someone, they'll move you over. If you prove it to them, you get to know who's hiring there, get to know them in person, then they might move you. Otherwise, it's hard to do it going from studio to studio. That's kind of a good way to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are very common for animation guys. The principles of animation can be applied to any medium, whether you're moving cutouts, pile of sand, bending pipe cleaners, clay, stop motion, 2D or 3D, right? I would think you'd probably have to improve your drawing ability a little for 2D, because I know a lot of 3D animators that just don't draw. They just acting is a very important skill that you use for both 2D and 3D, right? Improve your acting, but they totally are transferable. Would you agree, Jay?
Yeah, you should seriously be drawing. I've seen it happen. I've seen 3D artists who don't draw try to do 2D. It doesn't work out as much, so do your team a solid and maintain your drawing skills. They'll all benefit with you having done that.
Okay, so I see questions talking about software. Software, don't become afraid of the programs that you use. It's fairly easy to, in a couple of weeks, learn where the buttons are for the different softwares. You should never not accept a job just because you aren't familiar with the software.
Yeah, but the education does never end. Just by nature of it, there are inevitable changes. Calvin, you were, a master of what you were doing, but the industry still kind of shifted away from traditional animation. So education, in a sense, if you have your experience, no one's going to take that from you. If the industry needs to learn more software, it shifts from, like it did, from traditional Disney feature 2D films to 3D feature films. Everybody's going to have to be learning. Everybody's in the same boat. So there's like two types of learning there. Learning that all the professionals need to do together because the industry changes, and the learning that you need to do to get to that point to be professional.
Be willing to move as well, because some people become obsessed with just their own country, but traditional animation does still exist in Europe. It's huge still there, right? They still do traditional features. We might not see them here, but they are being done. If you want to live in England, if you want to live in France, you can still work traditionally. And to me, it was a great experience, traveling. You really learn about people and their customs by living in a country. Just visiting it for a week, you're not really learning about a country. So, you're young, get out there, move around, have some fun.
My favorite 2D animated feature film that came recently, within the last few years, actually came out of Brazil. I think it's still my favorite 2D feature film. It's called A Boy in the World. I'm going to send the link to the chat.
Heard it. Friends in Brazil, they mentioned it.
Yeah, it's easily my favorite. I'm not going to hype it up too much, but it's definitely what I would recommend to everybody.
Okay, one last question? We're getting ready to wrap up. I want to really thank everybody that took the time out of their Saturday morning. And Jay, thanks for attending this with us.
For sure. Glad to be here.
Okay, somebody's asking, general question, what about 2D rigs? Yeah, what about them? What exactly?
Yeah, 2D rigs. Well, if we're a little short, 2D rigs, what do you want to know about them?
Maybe they're just asking, do they exist? Like the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, they're very real. They're very usable. You can do a lot with 2D rigs. Our Marvel show.
That's what you do for the puppet animation, right, Jay?
Let me send you an example of our Marvel show that was all 2D puppets. It was preschoolers.
So Scott's asking, is it something that you want to show on your demo reel? use of 2D rigs.
Yep. I guess when I was talking about puppets, I also meant rigs. The terminology is really interchangeable. So rigs, puppets, same.
Okay, guys. So we're going to sign off here. You guys have your great weekend, and any other questions you have, just contact us at VANAS. You can go to askvanas.ca, Erica at vanas.ca.
You could check out my company if you're curious, the types of things that we can do in 2D that I didn't show, but for commercials.
Excellent. Okay, you're welcome, guys. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.